Hi there, I'm Sarah Cook, and I wanted to do a tarot card reading for you today. We have 3 different decks that you are going to essentially just select the deck that you feel most drawn to, and then that is the reading that you are going to watch. And I will have those readings or those timestamps rather marked down below. So go ahead and check that out, and you can just skip right to your reading. I do recommend just listening to your reading and trusting your first instinct. So do not think about this for more than 0.5 seconds. Just look at the decks, look at the numbers that is kind of superimposed over the deck, and go with your gut. That is the message that is meant for you today. What I'm going to be reading on today is kind of just giving you a really quick and dirty message, getting straight to the point, not messing around, not footing around the issue. I'm not going to be pulling a lot of cards. I'm only going to pull 3 cards for every deck that I do a reading for. Again, this is going to be a very, very straightforward reading, but a powerful one. And essentially with the guidance of what you need to be putting your focus on, what you need to be doing next, what you need to be letting go of. This reading is very simple, but very powerful. I'm going to be using a spread that is referred to as Stop, Start, Continue. And it's the spread that I always go to when I just want to give someone some really straightforward, no BS advice. And again, remember that I am just reading a message. It is up to you to interpret what this message means for you. So even though people watching are going to pick the same reading, you're going to get different meaning out of the reading. So the reading really is exactly what it sounds like. Stop, start, continue. Okay. So, and again, this can be interpreted in different ways, but just listening to the word stop, whatever card I pull is going to be an indication of maybe something that's not serving you, something that you need to let go of, something that is blocking you. Again, I don't really know yet, right? We got to pull the cards and see what comes up, but the general idea is this word of stop. Then the second word is start, which is very much a card of initiation, of finally, moving forward, of finally making that thing happen. And then the third card is basically an indicator of, hey, you're already doing this, you're on the right path, continue this, or maybe illuminating something that you've been wondering about, that you kind of already know about yourself, but it's really just reaffirming that for you. But again, we just kind of have to see what comes up, because there can be a lot of interpretation here, but I wanted to just give you, kind of what to expect. I think it's helpful to know how the reading's going to work. Again, I am not a psychic. I am not telling you what to do. I think that is very important to put out there before we get started. I am not telling you what to do. I am not, I am not a sage. I am not the end all be all. No. And I am definitely not telling your future. What this is doing is basically illuminating some things in your life that you probably already know are there, right? Giving you some things to think about. And essentially tarot cards, allow you to tap into your subconscious a little bit more and kind of work some things out and start to understand some things that are happening in your life, that are happening in your thoughts, that are happening in your subconscious. Okay, so that's all this is. I'm not telling the future. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm simply illuminating some things for you, and I do think you're going to find it really helpful. Okay, so again, these readings are quick, they are simple, they are to the point, but they are powerful. So very excited about this. So what I'm going to show you now in just a second are the 3 different decks. Again, I want you to take 0.5 seconds to decide what deck is speaking to you, what reading you want to listen to, and then jump to that reading. Deck number 1, hi. So if you picked deck number 1, you picked the True Heart Tarot. And the True Heart Tarot, so this is just the artwork on the back of the cards. The True Heart Tarot is a deck created by Rachel True, who is actually an actress. And she was in The Craft, which was a TV show, I think, in like the 90s. I am a 90s baby, and I feel like I was just a few years too young to really be into the show. But what I'll tell you is that I absolutely love this deck. It's a very unique deck. And Rachel has been reading tarot for years and years and years. So I love her interpretation of the cards. And I love this deck. So let's go ahead and get started with your reading. Okay, so pile number 1. I have a feeling that you have been in a very introspective period. You've been in a bit of an introverted period, an introspective period. And so I think some of you might be giggling as you're listening to this. I am recording this on March 7th, I believe, 2022. So you're like, yeah, I'm being introverted. Isn't the entire world kind of introverted? Haven't we been introverted pretty much against our will, right? Whether you're an introvert or not, we've all kind of been forced into this introverted period of our lives. But for you, I'm really picking up on you have like your world kind of fell apart in a way where what I'm actually seeing, the image that I'm actually seeing is your life kind of falling apart like a purse, right? If someone like spilled out their purse and there's just like stuff everywhere, you're kind of looking at all the stuff right now. You're looking at all the contents of your purse and you're like, okay, what can I just put in the trash? Like that lipstick has been in there since like 2016. I think I can get rid of it. And what do I need to maybe like clean off and restore and keep? And what do I absolutely know that I need to put back in? Or maybe heck, it's like so valuable that I actually need to take it out of my purse. Maybe it's like your passport, right? And you're like, I need to put this in my safe. Like this shouldn't be in my purse. So you're kind of really reevaluating everything. And so the first card that I pulled for you is the Three of Wands. And the Three of Wands, beautiful card. Sorry for the reflection, guys, on the cards. I'm trying to kind of figure that out, but you know, work with me. This is my first ever YouTube reading, so we're getting there. But the Three of Wands, this card immediately said to me, you are sitting in the contemplation for a little too long. Okay, so Three of Wands is very much this card of things happening, right? So things being in motion, but this came up in the stop position. And so really, again, what it immediately said to me, and however you interpret this is up to you. But I think you're kind of not seeing how things are actually already in motion because of the emotional work that you've done, because you've been such an observer of your life. I think you're still kind of in this waiting period. And oh my gosh, I can't tell you how much I personally relate to this. So I hope it's resonating with you as well. But I think like you're just so used to being in this waiting period because you did need to take the time to be an observer, to kind of analyze things, to figure some things out. But you need to realize that motion is actually happening again. And you need to essentially stop yourself from stopping it, if that makes sense, okay? And with that, the start card was so perfect. So the next card that I drew was the Ten of Discs. And the Ten of Discs is just this card. And again, if she uses discs as the suit in this deck, this can also be like pentacles or coins, depending on what deck you're using. But this card very much is like happy endings, right? Like the white picket fence or whatever, right? Like I'm not someone that really subscribes to the white picket fence, but kind of that is kind of like that quintessential, like everything that you've wanted is here, right? And so this coming up in the start position and this Three of Wands coming up in the stop position, what it was saying to me immediately was you need to actually stop, look around and realize what you've manifested already. So those things that you're like, when I get this, when I get that, when I have this, when I have that, no, there's no when. It's actually happening right now. So there needs to be an awareness that there is movement, because I think you're feeling really stagnant and you're like, you know, I still have 6 more months before anything can happen, or it's not time yet. That's actually really not accurate. Everything is a process. Nothing happens overnight. I think we have, again, in the past 2 years, we've basically been forced into being stagnant, right? So there actually has been a true period of stagnation that we really actually didn't have a lot of control over. And we're not used to that, right? We're used to things continuing forward. And these cards are showing you, okay, like it's time to actually look at what has moved forward, because I think we have gotten into a period of just feeling like that's not really happening right now. But your third card, continue, is the Hermit. And the Hermit is like such a archetypal card, right? And you may have like seen the imagery, the traditional imagery of the hermit as a man, kind of like with this lantern in the woods. And it's very much this idea of going inward, taking time away, being a recluse. But really, truly, it's a very empowering card, because at some point we have to face our inward conflicts, our inward stories, the things that are happening inside of us. We eventually have to be met with those. And again, I think we were kind of all forced. I don't care who you are, what pile you picked, you have had to look at yourself during this pandemic, because for a lot of it, we were just stuck at home. In fact, I was watching, of all things, The Real Housewives of New Jersey, and Melissa, the one housewife, was talking about why she thinks that her and her husband have had so many issues. And yes, I'm going to shamelessly say that I do watch The Real Housewives. I read tarot cards and I watch The Real Housewives, and I am totally okay with that. I'm still, I love all that stuff. But it was really interesting, because she said she really truly believes that the reason why her and her husband have had so many issues during the pandemic is because they were there all along. These disagreements and these things that did not line up about them, right, were there all along. But, she kind of was saying, like, we're the typical Italians. We keep it, things inside. We don't talk about it. But the pandemic, we're at home, we're staring at each other, we're not going anywhere, we don't have work and outings and things to distract us from facing these things, so we had to face them, which came out as fighting sometimes, but really they've come through on the other side being stronger. So it's essentially, this card, the Hermit, is like, you're gonna have to face this eventually. But it came up in the continue position for you. And I really believe what this actually means for you is you've done a great job of doing the work on yourself. Can you please give yourself a pat on the back? You have. You've done it. The contents of that purse were spilled all out over the floor, and you looked at them and you cleaned them up and you put them away and you discarded of the things that you no longer needed, right? You did it. But with this card, what I'm getting for you is, see how these little mushrooms growing by her feet? If there are mushrooms growing around your feet, you've been standing there way too long. So I think the question to you, pile number one, is what's next for you? All three of these cards are saying, you've done it. You've done the work. You've looked at yourself. You've evaluated things. You've gone through the emotional hardships, right? Can we kind of just ask you now, like, what's next? What's your actual next focus? Can you lay to rest some of these things that needed to be laid to rest? And can you also celebrate the things that you have brought into your life? Again, I think we were so used to a real period of stagnation, which again was very, very real and true for all of us. But we are getting out of that, and things are happening, right? And even if the world is still locked inside of their house, you can still make progress mentally, emotionally, spiritually, right? But I think this card is a little bit of a permission slip of, like, you've kind of been standing in this place. I'm hearing guilt that you need to kind of harbor on things, and you're kind of getting stuck on things that it's okay to just be like, well, I did that, and maybe I'm not proud of it. Maybe it wasn't my best moment, but I learned from it, and I'm moving forward. What's the next thing that I get to learn about myself? And let's actually make this like fun and positive. This doesn't mean that you need to continue to re-traumatize yourself. This means maybe you get to move forward and be like, you know what? I've always wanted to take a creative writing class, and I'm going to do that now. And guess what? Maybe some of those things that I've had to do a real deep dive in are going to come back out in a beautiful way where I can now actually help people from what I've learned, right? So it's time to kind of like also take a lot of the work that you've done, the Three of Wands, and make something from it. Do something with it. So these are really cards of gratitude. 10 of Discs is 100% gratitude, looking around and seeing what has actually changed in the past 2 years. There's been a lot that hasn't been great. But can you look at where some of your, pile one specifically, where your hard work on yourself, right, has actually really helped? What has changed? How does your life look different for the better because you were willing to look at everything in a hard way? But then can we just like let that to rest? Because I'm sure that was a really emotional journey for you, and it's time to move forward. And what do you want to move forward on? Let's have fun with it. Like, do you want to go take a rock climbing class? Let's have fun, okay? Thanks, pile number 1. I hope that was helpful. Pile number 2. Hi, how are you? I love the art of this deck, the back of it, and all the actual cards, but I love the back of it. And this is the Way Home Tarot. Let me show you the box because I have the box right here. The Way Home Tarot. Love this deck. Very unique deck, and the imagery really seems to speak to people with this one. I think, imagery is a huge part of tarot. Obviously, every deck is different, and there's really different messages to be had because of that. But people seem to really love this imagery. So let's go ahead and read your cards. Okay, pile number 2. So this is a really, really powerful message. And I really want you to take a little bit of time after hearing this to really allow yourself to absorb it, because just the cards that I'm getting the sense that you're not allowing yourself to believe what you feel, to know what you feel is true, to believe yourself, to trust yourself. I think there's a little bit of questioning yourself, second guessing yourself, not knowing if you're maybe being too dramatic or kind of making more out of a situation that needs to be made. And so I want to really encourage you to take a few minutes after this and just absorb this message. So I'm going to just show you the cards the way that they came up for me. Some of them were reversed. And so I will put them right side up so you can see the card, right side up, because I think that can help. But I will show you initially the way that they came up for me. So the first card that came in the stop position for you is the 9 of Swords, again, reversed. And immediately, the second I put this card down, I was like, this card is telling you to stop second guessing your pain, stop second guessing your anxiety, stop second guessing your frustration, stop second guessing feeling suffocated or feeling bogged down or feeling stuck. What is coming through here is that this frustration, this anxiety, these feelings that something isn't right for you. I really am getting a feeling that this is kind of being projected from other people, and that because of other people, you're maybe feeling like you can't fully trust what you know and what you feel. And here's the bottom line. If you feel anxious, you feel anxious. If you feel scared, you feel scared. If you feel stressed out, you feel stressed out. If you feel overwhelmed, you feel overwhelmed. Nobody can tell you how you feel. I remember somebody told me this years ago, someone that was way older and wiser than me. I was like in my early 20s. This was probably someone in their 50s, had a lot more life experience than me, and said that to me, feelings can never be wrong. And I was like, I don't know. It didn't process with me. It really didn't. But as time went on and I started to have experiences where people were essentially telling me, you don't feel that way, or you shouldn't feel that way, it finally started to click. My emotions are sometimes, most of the time, right? And not just my emotions, all of our emotions are things that we don't always have a ton of control over, right? And I do think there's an argument there of choosing joy, choosing whatever, right? Maybe choosing anger. We could go into a deep philosophical conversation about this, but that's not actually what's important here right now. What's important is when you're feeling something, you're feeling it and it's real and it's true to you. It doesn't mean that other people would react that same way. It doesn't mean that if this happened to someone else that they would have the same anger, fear, pain, whatever, but you're in your situation and whatever you're feeling is true. So this is in the stop position. I'm going to show you just upright. I mean, look at this card. It's kind of freaky. It's kind of scary. We know, right? Like I look at this card and I'm like, you don't have to be a scientist to look at that and go, that is not good for the environment, right? Like that is definitely polluting the air. You don't have to have one lick of science knowledge to know that. So can you trust yourself that you know what's going on for yourself and you know that whatever is happening is not good for you, for your environment, for your air, right? For your ability to breathe freely and take big, full breaths. Whatever that is, I'm getting a sense that something is really like literally laying on top of you. Like you're feeling truly suffocated right now. I'm kind of getting a sense of like a job, like a job kind of came through. But again, this could be just like a relationship with someone or a relationship with like maybe a group of people. There's so many interpretations here, right? And it really, this is your message. So whatever is coming to you, that is the right answer. I'm really getting this sense that you're feeling extremely weighed down by this thing. And what this card is telling you is simply, you're right. You are right. You're right. That's it. You're right. Okay, so next card then, very important. This is our start card, and this is the Two of Cups. And I love this card. It's just so lovely, and it was reversed as well. And so I think that this actually has a lot of different meanings. First and foremost, the thing that came to me immediately is there are people, I love this phrase as well, people that make you feel like sunshine, or not people that make you feel like sunshine, people that feel like sunshine. Do you have that person in your life? The person that feels like sunshine? You need to go be around them. And it's so funny because as I'm saying it, I'm looking at the back of this card, and I mean, it just reminds me of sunshine. So I just feel like these little jellyfish, right? They're coming to the surface, like they're floating together. You need to go find those people, or you need to go intentionally reconnect with those people that feel like sunshine. You are an adult now, right? I don't know who needs to hear of this, but this is what's coming through. You're an adult now. You don't have to spend time with people that feel like this. You just don't. You can trust yourself that you know who feels like this. Doesn't mean you have to cut them off, never talk to them again, yada, yada, yada. Take it slow. Maybe it's just like not answering every text, not answering every call, maybe not saying yes to every get together. Can you start to go towards the light, right? And this is what's reminding me of like with sea creatures. And again, I am not a scientist whatsoever, but I'm just like thinking of these jellyfish like going towards the sun. Can you actually make an intentional effort to do that? So I don't want this to just be all like metaphorical, and like the thing about my tarot card readings is they are pretty simple messages, I feel, but I don't want you to just like hear the message and then not do anything. I want you to actually like, my encouragement here would be to really think about, how do I start to step away from these things that I know are not good for me, and know that it's a process, right? Again, like we're talking about, this is polluting the air. The Environmental Protection Agency can't just shut down everything that's polluting this entire planet in 5 seconds, right? Like we can't just turn off everything that's emitting CO2 right now, right? I don't know, maybe we could, but we're not, right? It's a process. It's taking, years and years and years. Like when we're talking about climate change, we are talking about how people have plans to stop carbon emissions by 2030. That's 8 years from now. It takes time. There has to be processes. There has to be like, it has to take time. It's not just going to happen immediately, because there's things that need to be in place, structures, systems, adjusting to new routines, finding new solutions. So can you realize, especially like if it is a career issue, if this is really coming through as like, I need to get away from my job, quitting tomorrow might not really be the best thing. But I have this feeling that if you can start to be around people, places, and things that feel like sunshine, this becomes more bearable and the solutions become more clear. Because again, like using kind of this climate change metaphor that just came to me, if we are just looking at the doom and gloom of the situation, we just shut down. We don't have solutions. We have to feel hopeful and like there is the ability to change, and we have to actually look at the proof, at the science that there is solutions, right? To feel like there are, and just start taking action. So can you do a little of internal work? What makes me feel good? Who makes me feel good? How can I be around these people? How can I kind of get my energy, like get my battery recharged a little bit, and then I can start to find solutions here, right? Then your third card is continue. And ooh, this card is always really powerful for people, and this comes up a lot. I did a lot of year-end readings in 2021, and this card came up for a lot of people. So the Eight of Cups, this is again really interesting because we're kind of going with this like whole environmental pollution sort of, metaphor. And I find it really interesting that the stop card is very much all like pollution, like start finding solutions to get that out of your life, out of your air, out of your environment. And then we go to the continue, and here's this octopus, right? And what I find really interesting about this octopus is in some ways an octopus, and again, I'm like not a scientist. You guys might laugh. I can totally see people like in the comments being like, this girl keeps talking about how she's not a scientist. Like, we know. But I'm not a scientist. I don't really know where octopuses belong necessarily. And is it octopi, by the way? Anyways, I don't know if an octopus, I believe octopus like to live in the ocean, right? They don't like to live on the beach. They don't like to live on the beach. They like to live in the ocean. So that's the first thing that always strikes me about this card is like, why is he on the beach? And look, he's on the beach and he's like surrounded by pollution. That's not his fault, right? So my question to you is, I think you've already started to do some thinking of, why am I actually here? Why am I actually in this situation? I don't mean like here on the planet Earth. I mean like in this situation that's bringing a lot of stress, anxiety, weighing you down. It's this idea of like, you actually probably don't really belong in that situation, but how did you get there? Why are you there? And what is not yours? And how can you go back to like where you need to be, where you thrive, which again, look at this beautiful, clear water that is just like open and ready for these jellyfish to explore. So where are you kind of keeping yourself in a polluted environment? And like, you're not even supposed to be there. You're supposed to be like deep in the ocean somewhere, right? And then the other funny thing about this to me is that this Mr. Octopus, he didn't pollute this beach, but yet he's here. And this is, in a way, like his territory, right? Like the ocean. But it's part of his territory. But really and truly, he's meant to be out deep at sea. He's not meant to be on the beach. Why is he on the beach? Because all it's doing is like, really, I mean, look at that. He's having to navigate through that. It doesn't seem like a lovely time. I'm sure he'd be much happier deep in the ocean, eating fish or doing whatever he does, right? So again, I like to give a little bit of, I don't like to say homework, but a little bit of action steps with my card readings. And I would say, why are you in this situation? And it might be, truly circumstances that were out of your control. That's okay to acknowledge that as well, right? But where do you belong? Where do you thrive? Where is your natural habitat, right? And let's go back to this card. What feels like sunshine? What feels good? And how do you start to build your plan to get away from that? Okay. It's not going to happen overnight, but how do you start to move forward? Okay. Hope that was helpful. Pile number 2. Okay. Pile number 3. This is very interesting reading. I love it though. So the first thing that I am getting from this, and by the way, I didn't show you the deck that I'm using. I told everyone else the deck I was using for their piles. So love the art on the back of this. So cool. This was my first ever deck. This is the deck that I learned on. I love this deck. I've always been drawn to this deck. And this is, I have the box right here so I can show you. It is the Fountain Tarot. It's a pretty well-known deck. Kind of hard to see, but Fountain is, in case that wasn't enunciated enough. So the Fountain Tarot. This reading is very interesting and very powerful. I'm actually going to, I think, I'm like, am I going to show it to you? I've kind of picked up every card piece by piece and shown, but I'm going to actually show you this real quick. Okay, so the reason why I really, really, really want to show you the positioning of these cards is because it's just extremely powerful visually. So if you look at the two cards on either side, they're a bit chaotic, a bit confusing, a bit somber, a bit sad. I mean, look at the face of the Seven of Cups. She doesn't necessarily look thrilled, right? She looks kind of confused, kind of shocked. And then the Eight of Cups, I mean, I think just really has a very somber feeling to it. And you know, we're going to go into the interpretation of these cards in a minute, but I just want to show you how this is set up within the Queen of Coins in the middle. And the Queen of Coins is in the start position. And this is the true you. The Queen of Coins is you. It is your essence. It is your being. It is who you are being called to step into. These other sides are things that you have dealt with and you need to let go. And so again, we're going to get into that more, but I just want to show you how powerful this is, kind of being surrounded by these chaotic cards, and in the middle is your true self, which I think is exactly what this reading is actually saying. Okay, so pile number 3, as I said, you know, this Queen of Coins, I've been going in order, but this is not in order for this reading. But I want to show this to you. I mean, oh my God, the green, it's so vibrant and beautiful, even on the video. Like, it's just absolutely gorgeous. And this is a card of abundance, of creativity, of flow, of feminine energy. And like, this card is truly a card of possibility, of potential. And again, your truest self. A lot of people say with tarot, so this is the Queen of Coins. Again, the Queen of Pentacles, whatever you may call it. The court cards, so the page, the knight, the queen, the king, and again, it can show up with kind of different names, but every deck has these kind of family cards, court cards, whatever you want to call them. And some people believe that all they are, because they essentially like can represent different personalities. A lot of tarot readers believe that the court cards actually represent all the different facets of your personality. And I think in this particular situation, that is 100% what this is. I think everyone has the potential to have a Queen of Coins energy. And this reading is really calling to you, saying, this is something that it is time, it is actually beyond time that you step into this thing, okay? So coins, Queen of Coins, the idea of coins or pentacles is very tangible. It is very much like resources, money, your actual assets, your actual abilities, maybe degrees you have, certifications you have, knowledge you have, trades that you know, like your gifts, essentially, like the things that you have to offer to the world. And pentacles or coins, it's like very much grounded in reality. And so I think that, again, this card is saying to you, like, you have a lot to offer. That is the actual reality of the situation. And again, I like to kind of give a little bit of homework or a little bit of guidance with these readings. I would actually encourage you to sit down and write down what your skill sets are, what your assets are, what you know how to do. Get nitty gritty. It doesn't have to just be like in relation to maybe what you do for work. This could be, you know, are you able to support people in a certain way? Like, are you really good at talking about maybe like death, right? I was just actually supporting a friend. She just had to put her dog down. And she's like, you're really good at talking about this. Are you good at talking about that? Are you good at maybe lifting people up and making them feel good? Are you good at doing people's makeup? Like, I don't know, right? There's a million different things that this could be. But I want you to take a little bit of time and do some tangible thinking of what your actual skill sets are. Because what is coming up here for me is that something has happened and you have already walked away from it. There's been a bad situation. It's the Eight of Cups. It has built up. It has been too much. It has basically forced you to have to walk away. In fact, I don't think you wanted to walk away. I think it really pained you, hurt you, disappointed you. It wasn't what you wanted to do, but you had to, because you are smart. You are aware of, you know, when things are appropriate, right? And when things are not appropriate and when you need to make a move. I don't think you ever wanted to do this. whatever this situation was, you had to stop, you had to walk away, you had to quit, whatever, right? You had to break up, you had to leave a situation. But I want to acknowledge that you didn't want to do it. I think this is in the stop position because there's very much this idea, or I think you're very much in this place of second guessing yourself. And can you just go with the hurt that you're feeling and know that that hurt is indicating to you that this wasn't an easy decision for you and you were essentially backed into a corner? Can you forgive yourself a little bit is what I'm kind of feeling with this card. And then the continue is the 7 of Cups, and it's reversed. And again, reverse cards can mean a lot of different things. It's kind of up to the interpretation of the reader and what they're feeling makes sense intuitively in that moment. And what I am gathering for this card, so look at her right now. She's kind of confused, kind of lost. There's a lot of things going on in your head right now. And I know that as a human, that's kind of all the time, but I think right now you're playing these situations through, you're regretting, you're saying, well, it wasn't my fault, but maybe it was, and maybe they shouldn't have said this, and maybe I shouldn't have said that, but they said this. There's like a lot going on. And this may have been with like a person, this may have been with a job, I don't know. But I think you're really, really, really getting lost in all of the details. This is upside down. And what I'm getting a sense of is you have had moments where you have allowed some of these things to go, some of the guilt, some of the details of the situation. Okay. And what I'm actually being kind of called to say here right now is, again, I would find it really helpful, I think, for you to maybe write down all the bullshit of the situation, just all the thoughts, all the random thoughts that you're having, and then go through it either with yourself, but I think I'd really recommend like with a trusted friend that sees the best in you. You know, be very careful about who you're having this conversation with, but go with that friend that loves you, that cares for you. And if you do not have that person, maybe that is kind of what you need to put out there, is that you're looking for that person. You're looking for that person. And honestly, I'm just going to be totally real. I'm a huge proponent of therapy, and tarot is not a replacement for therapy. I go to a therapist on a regular basis. Tarot is just another amazing skill set, or kind of another tool that allows you to see things in a different light and to reflect. But nothing replaces therapy. And so if you're really feeling like you don't have someone to kind of like go through things with, I really recommend seeking out therapy. There are so many different accessible ways. Therapy can be expensive, but there are also, a lot of different apps and things that give therapy in a more accessible way. So I would really encourage you, if that is the case, to kind of maybe seek that out. But again, I think this can be just done with a trusted person, a friend, to just say, hey, can I go through this situation with you? And can I just like go through some of these details that I have been really struggling with? And can you start to release them? Can you start to let them go? Can you start to let them confuse you less? Because when you actually do that, this is where you get to create room for this part of you. Because when you're so distracted by all of this stuff and analyzing all of these things, you can't remember your actual tangible skills, right? And your strengths and your abilities. So if I had to kind of suggest some homework after this, right? It would be to talk it out, to think it out, to write it out, physically write it out, and then talk it out with someone. What are the things that are still coming up for you with this situation that just sucked? And I think has kind of hit you hard, and you've lost a lot of your confidence because of it. Can you start to actually flesh it out, talk it out? Let's talk it out. Like, let's go through the situation. Let's get rid of some of these distractions and details. And then again, write that list of everything that you know you can offer. And it's just be very, very very unbiased. Like, just try to be as unbiased as you can. And really just look at what you can bring to the table. And start to actually ask yourself, am I doing that? Because I think this situation made you doubt a lot of those things. What are those things that you love to bring to the world. And when you're doing, like, I'm a true believer, and when you are doing the things that you're meant to do in this world, you don't have to worry about anything, right? Like when you're truly living in your purpose, when you're truly doing what you're meant to do, everything else falls into place. But in order to like really, really be able to like, I mean, think about it, like to have this beautiful garden, you have to weed, okay? So it's time to do some weeding of these thoughts, of these things that are distracting you, bogging you down. How do we make peace with this situation so that you can step back into this? All right, thank you so much, pile number 3. Hope this was helpful. Okay, so I hope that you found your reading helpful and illuminating and something that is going to be reflected on and something, for you to think about and consider and contemplate. And again, I gave, I think, all of you a little bit of homework, and just with the idea that I don't want you to just watch this and then go about your day, right? Tarot cards are not meant to just kind of give a message with no further action, no further movement. I really do think that tarot actually gives us a place to make some choices, make some decisions, make some empowered choices and decisions, and move forward in a really powerful and empowered way. So I hope that this was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you later.